let's look at Microsoft. So first, read this disclaimer carefully. Then do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So 55-ish% from the 52-week low, and we are 10% away from the highs. I don't think Microsoft needs a whole lot of introduction. Everyone knows about the company. What people don't necessarily know is that they have a massive cloud service. They are the company behind my Xbox, the gaming console. They also have a huge investment in OpenAI, so they have a massive lead on AI, and they are going to introduce a lot of interesting things when it comes to artificial intelligence. So this is definitively a company to watch. However, it also is a company with a massive market cap. So even though AI is bullish for Microsoft, this is a company that has quite a bit of exposure to the global market. So they have a lot of market penetration. So in order to go higher, it's going to need a lot more revenue and stuff like that. I think that based on the current setup, I do see a bit of a potential bearish trade. Not like a super big bear, but a bit of a bear. So let me just draw in here. So you can see that we are currently... So let me draw in here with the tool. So this is resistance. But we have also seen that this purple 20-week moving average, it can be support. But it has a bit of a history here of actually being resistance. So purple 20-week moving average is the level to watch. If you look here at the RSI and the PPOs. So this is where we are currently at. You see that back in the day here, we were higher before we had a massive correction. We did get overbought on the RSI, on the weeklies. Not like super duper overbought, but we were pretty high. Microsoft has a bit of a history to actually explore the lower regions of weekly RSI once we are overbought. Yeah, MACD also showing a sell signal. Pretty strong sell signal actually, and we did have that back here as well before the major correction. So, not being a super bear here, also the 20-week PPO you can see in purple. There's a reason to suspect that there might be more correction left here for Microsoft. Here are the daily data points, and when we draw in with this time cycle tool, let me draw here. Yeah, let me get, let's take the black color. So you see that the time cycles, they fit fairly nicely with actual price action. So these time cycles, I do think that they matter. And because of that, we do see that there's a declining phase into early November. So that is sort of what we expect now, given the time cycles. And that is a natural rhythm for this stock. Another thing is that we are currently facing some resistance here at the blue 100-day moving average. So that is another, key indicator to watch going forward. I do think that, so let's actually look here at the RSI here as well. In this case, oops, okay, we don't want that. So here we are. So yeah, a bit of a potential MACD sell signal developing here. We saw that during this minor correction, the previous time cycle. So overall, I do think that we have some corroborating evidence here that we could expect a bit of a pullback. Not necessarily any kind of a big one, but a bit of a pullback. So 20 VMA resistance. And we also have time cycle. And then we have a bit of a bear on that one. I do think I will give the bears a minus, -6 on this one. Next, we will look at the seasonality. So to the left here, we do see that there's some decline, rise, and then weakness into later November. In the table view here, 4.5% so far for October. So there's been some strength in October. October can be very strong historically. November has recently been relatively strong. So if you look at some of the stronger Novembers like last year, then October was mediocre though. In this case, you see that October was strong but weakness before, then give back in December. So usually we do see Microsoft have some give back after a strong performance. So yeah, I do think that the seasonality to some extent corroborates the thesis, but not like in a major way. Yeah, I think I will give... yeah, so what should I give here on the seasonality? Because there was some potential strength. Yeah, I think I will give the bulls a 1, but nothing like spectacular. Then we go to the fundamentals. So here are the fundamentals for Microsoft. So we have price book in blue, price to sales in copper, and then price earnings in green. And in purple, we have price to free cash flow. So you do see that when it comes to these indicators, Microsoft is elevated, but it's not extreme. So this is not like a terrible value situation, but it certainly is not like a value case either. So let's look at what the analysts think. So here are the analysts' forecasts. Yeah, so they are bullish. The average target is 21-ish% above us. Strong buy across the board. So yeah, they're definitively feeling quite bullish here for Microsoft. So 21% above us. So what would that... Let's look at what that would actually mean, though. Because here's the thing, market capitalization of Microsoft is 2.4 trillion US dollars. This is a huge company. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, let's take 20%, measure that one. How far is that above us? 20% from the current level. Oh, that's way up there. Yeah, that would be definitively be a new all-time high. Yeah, that's bullish for sure. Price earnings. Oh yeah, that is after market close today. Okay, that's pretty interesting. That is pretty interesting indeed. So I didn't know that when I started making the video. So we will know pretty soon. But the fundamentals here are strong though. So I think I would give the bulls a 5 here on the fundamentals. So they are definitively bullish, but then again, this is not like a stock that has seen a major correction. So there's not a value case here for Microsoft. Yeah, let's now look at some relative performance. So Microsoft here, no, Microsoft MSFT. To compare it against the XLK and yeah, what other should we compare it against? I think there are some AI ETFs out there. You have the AI powered equity ETF. But you also have the Sky cloud computing. Yeah, let's take that one. So here are the weekly data points. 87% positive correlation with S&P 500, 97% with XLK, which is the tech ETF. Sky cloud computing, 18%. Daily data points, short-term correlations, 87% with S&P 500, 94% with XLK, and 85% with Sky. So looking short and long-term, the strongest correlation we get is with XLK, which is the Spider Tech ETF. This one is a bit of a corrective mode as well. MACD losing momentum. let's look at long-term RSI here. So it can be elevated for some time. Yeah, you do see, however, that when it has been overbought, there is definitively a historical risk of more correction. Let's look at the dailies. This one has corrected more than what we have seen with Microsoft. And in that case, you know, you might have a long short trade as well, maybe being long XLK while being short Microsoft. So here's the seasonality for XLK. October can be strong, November is also relatively strong. So let's now compare Microsoft with XLK. Like that, XLK. So in this case, Microsoft has certainly outperformed XLK. RSI is approaching risky territory, a bit higher than here in the 66 region. That is where we have seen previously that there usually is a period of Microsoft underperforming the XLK. We are not there yet, but pretty close. On the dailies, we are actually overbought here with Microsoft. And in the past, like back here, we saw that a period of underperformance began. Here a bit, not too much. Here a more protracted period of underperformance. Looking at seasonality here. So far in October, we have a 4% outperformance. Which is on the higher, but not like the highest end of the spectrum for October. November is usually more mixed. Looking at the sum, it usually doesn't favor Microsoft. So there's that. Okay. So let's get back here to my notes. So when it comes to relative performance, that one flipped more bearish. Yeah, I think I will give the bearish a 3 on this one. So we end up with a relatively mild minus 0.8 here in favor of the bears, not dramatic. 20 weekly moving average resistance, and the time cycle is bearish. Interestingly, today, Microsoft will report earnings after the market close. Of course, if they do surprise positively, then that will be bullish. So, and of course the opposite if they disappoint. So let's actually look historically here at Microsoft when it comes to these earnings. Microsoft. So what is the tendency? So here they reported earnings, and you see that there was a pullback. There was a rise actually on the earnings being reported. Well, was it after the close? Oh yeah, that was after market close. Yeah, so in that case, previously disappointment. In this case, also after market close, and you do see that it was at the low though, so it had corrected before the earnings, and then there was a positive surprise, but that was also a positive surprise relative to where the current stock is. In this case, we're not at all-time highs, but we haven't. It's very like this entire period, it's been spending like moving sideways. It's very indecisive. Previous earnings, in this case, it was very bullish before the earnings. In this case, but then again, then it was at the lows as well. So if we go back here, more analogous to our current period. But in this case, we also had seen a major correction, a rise, and then a fall. If we go back to this earnings, then it definitively went into a big bull mode and made it like a new all-time high. So yeah, looking at the past, Microsoft has reacted quite mixed to earnings, but there's some pattern. After a correction, it's more likely for the stock to move up, and also if it has been in a major correction, then it also is more likely. But yeah, in this case, with Microsoft, I do lean a bit bearish. So When it comes to, bearish trades, when there's earnings, one thing is to just buy a put. That is one speculative way to do it. You can also go a bit out of the money on some stocks, especially liquid stocks like Microsoft. But that is more like the lottery, a more lottery type of trade, because if Microsoft surprises on the more positive end of the spectrum, then of course the put, if you just buy an out of the money put, it will become very worthless pretty soon. But then again, if there's some disappointment, then you could just see some pretty sizable moves. So yeah, I do think this is interesting. Another thing is to, by being bearish Microsoft, you could have a situation where it functions as a hedge as well. So given that we haven't seen any major correction in Microsoft, especially relative to XLK, we saw that Microsoft has actually outperformed the tech ETF significantly, to the point where it's overbought in that pair on the dailies. So there could be like a period of XLK outperforming Microsoft, and if you then have a more bearish trade on Microsoft, then of course you would benefit if it goes down. It also has a higher probability of going down if it is has abnormally outperformed the underlying index. So yeah, all in all, very interesting trade, and we will know pretty soon whether this is bearish or bear time for Microsoft.